It's happening. It's about that time. I know we've been speaking about it for years. Teams like, oh, Giannis wants a trade. The team's not good, and years go by. You win a championship, and their team's still relevant. You get Damian Lillard. Dame is gone. They lost 7 in a row. And I know he literally just went down, as of this video, he just went down with a calf strain, which is something you never want to see. But some people are saying it's the Vince Carter method. And for some of you who might not know what the Vince Carter method is, back in the days, early 2000s, Vince Carter didn't want to play for Toronto Raptors anymore. So people say he copped out, whether that is just strictly taking jump shots, not dunking the ball anymore, or just faking an injury whenever he goes on the court. And you never know. It did look like a actual calf strain. Giannis doesn't seem the type of person to back out of a game, especially or back out off on a team, especially if someone's not working in his favor. He just doesn't seem like that type of guy. So I don't really see it being a fake injury. But Giannis is most likely on the move, and then I have 5 teams I want to list that I feel like would be a good trade. Well, not even just put together a good trade package, but you pair this guy up with some of these guys, and it's like they have a solid team for the future. Even though Giannis is not the youngest guy, he's still fairly, he's a good age. So it's like you still, you have him for for a few years, not just a rental guy. Regardless of the big or small market, I do see Giannis staying in it. I know there was a clip before when he did state though you want to see a lot of the Europeans in bigger markets. So like I said, you don't know. He's been linked to a few teams before. Obviously, Toronto Raptors, Masai days. He's been linked to the Knicks. People just want to put anybody with LeBron. That's just Lakers fans. This Clippers is just that's another big market. I even heard him linked to Boston one time. I got 5 teams. 5 teams I want to list, and I think he'll do fairly well with a lot of these teams. Probably, I think all 5 of these teams, honestly. So, first team, we got a San Antonio Spurs. A Wemby and Giannis. That is what? How is that going to work? Bro, just know it's going to work. Somehow it's going to work. Wemby, upcoming superstar. Giannis, established superstar. It's like, defensively, there's going to be a tough time scoring on them. I don't know how you do it. Honestly, it's just not going to be fun. People thought it was cheap when Durant joined the Warriors. Offensively, defensively, Giannis and Wemby, what are you supposed to do? It's literally, as soon as you drive the ball to the paint, just kick it out to the 3-ball, bro. And even then, they could block those shots. But don't drive in this paint, because it's not happening. We know that some key guys on the Spurs right now. You got Wemby, you got Devin Vassell, you got De'Aaron Fox, and you got young guys like Stephon Castle. You got Dylan Harper, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sohan. They have some good solid some solid players. And who do you package in that? Like, I know you could do some core youth, like some young guys. You could maybe throw in, you're not throwing in Victor, but you can throw in like a Devin Vassell, 2-3 future first round picks, unprotected picks, maybe like pick swaps. You throw in Harrison Barnes, a vet. Do you throw in Dylan Harper and keep De'Aaron Fox, or do you want to package it around De'Aaron Fox, maybe some young talent, some picks? You get Giannis and you start Dylan Harper. Because Dylan Harper, what I've seen, the last few games, or not even few games, like early on in the year, he looks very established. He looks like a very solid pro. He low-key cooked the Raptors when I was watching the game. He looked like he knew exactly what he was doing out there. And I'm a fan of Dylan Harper. So it's like, do you package De'Aaron Fox, some picks, maybe Jeremy Sohan, you have Keldon Johnson, or do you throw in a younger guy like Dylan Harper? I could see the Bucks wanting some young stars back, but like I said, De'Aaron Fox is still fairly young. And you get some picks, whether it be 2-3 future first round, some unprotected, whatever it may be. And a Giannis pickup would make the Spurs a very deep team, definitely a playoff contender. I could see them beating the Nuggets easily in a series if there was Giannis and Jokic. Or not Giannis and Jokic, gosh, it was Giannis and Wemby. Literally, because Denver has a lot of they have a lot of good role players that surrounded Jokic, but the bigs inside is a little too much for Jokic, for him to do it by himself. I feel like Denver would need something else. I still do see Oklahoma above. As a team overall, whether it be their starting 5 or their bench and supporting cast, they're just too deep of a team to really, for any team to really just put anything together and break them up. It's still like I said, OSC will have a tough time guarding them, but Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet, I still see OKC as the favorites even with a trade like this. But yeah, that's the number one. That's number one. Pairing those two, Wemby and Giannis, like historically, the size is crazy. Verticality up front, both dominant offensively and defensively. It's I don't know, that flexibility right there, scary, and it does give the Bucks some upside whether they get Dylan Harper or they get someone like De'Aaron Fox because that's a point guard you can build around. Like I said, you do get some picks, and the next few draft classes look kind of solid, right? And it doesn't even have to be Spurs picks, like whatever picks they do have. But they will be giving up a large portion of their team or the young core of the Spurs, and they'll be going into win now mode if they do that. Because for Giannis, the package is going to be kind of ridiculous. That's just how it is. So long term, it might not be the best. Does it fit Wemby's schedule? Maybe not. You want to try to keep some young guys around them, but overall, higher chance of winning, especially right now. Another team I have, I can't forget the Toronto Raptors. As much as we don't have Masai, and Masai loves doing those big risky trades, and I'm saying that because the big risky trade was DeMar. Trading away your franchise player like DeMar DeRozan, someone that didn't want to leave the team to begin with, and it's crazy because not a lot of players want to come to Toronto during free agencies. You know what I mean? So to have someone like DeMar DeRozan that's expressed himself saying he wants to stay here full time, wants to retire a Raptor, don't worry, I got us. And then just go and trade him for a rental like Kawhi. Yeah, I understand Kawhi was a very good player. Finals MVP, champion. But it's like it's your franchise guy. You know what I mean? How do you just trade your franchise guy for a 1 year rental that you knew didn't want to play anywhere other than LA? Not only that, he was injury prone. But hey, it worked. Like I said, we don't have Masai anymore, but Bobby Webster was under Masai, so I don't know if he's gonna have in terms of the same type of if he's going to run the organization the same type of way Masai did and go all in, or he's going to be like, let's just grow, let's keep the team how it is. But who do you trade for this? Do you trade, bro? I promise you, Bobby Webster, if you trade Scotty Barnes, I'm not watching the Raptors. It's going to take a little bit to get over that. You don't as much as Giannis is, top 5 player, one of the best big men to ever play or power force ever play. Some people have him over Duncan, but that's a whole other story. I don't think I have him over Duncan. But do you trade someone like Scotty Barnes for Giannis and try to win now and you keep Ingram? I don't know, because I feel like the Bucks would want someone like Scotty Barnes, especially coming from the Raptors. It's yeah, we could, instead of, throwing in Scotty, we could try to throw in RJ Barrett, Emmanuel quickly. Maybe like a Jakob Poeltl, a Grady, and maybe some picks. I don't want to trade Jacoby. I'm a Jacoby Walters fan. Like I said, I would throw in RJ and quickly before I even throw in Scotty Barnes. I'm not doing that. Or do you imagine them getting rid of Ingram? But you can't do that. Can't get rid of Ingram. But like a RJ Barrett, Emmanuel quickly, maybe like a Grady, some future picks, first round picks, pick swaps, whatever it is. I can see it happening. Like a lineup, regardless of who else we have in there, we have Scotty Barnes, we have Brandon Ingram, we have Giannis. The only thing I don't like about that, we put a lot of pressure on the rim. We drive to the basket. It does open up. It doesn't open up. I don't know. I don't really see it working too well, just because they're not. None of them are proven shooters, right? Ingram can shoot the ball, more of a midi. Scotty Barnes developing a midi. He can hit the three when he's really feeling it. Giannis, same thing. He can hit the threes if he's really feeling it, but he's not the type of guy to even take threes or midi. He's more just straight drive, rim run. And 3 guys, or even 2, because Scotty Barnes, is kind of similar to Giannis in that way. That does like to get people involved. They're very similar. Their games could work. I don't see how it correlates and pushes them over the hump in terms of beating one of the top West Coast teams like OKC. But like I said, it's Giannis. Giannis is amazing. So I feel like Giannis on any team helps any team get over whatever hump they may, whatever hump they have. But at the same time, I don't want to see quickly go, only because we need the outside shooting. We need the floor spacing. We don't have anybody else. Who else on the Raptors is a proven shooter? I feel like Grady Dick's probably the second best shooter on the team, and even him, very inconsistent. Okay, I'm lying. We got Jameson Battle. We got Mamu, but even them, they're not. Jameson Battle might you could say is a good shooter, but he has his stretches, still fairly young. But maybe like a quickly RJ Barrett package for Giannis, I could see that happening. Like I said, they're under the new leadership of Bobby Webster. I don't know how he's gonna, how he's gonna pivot and what he's gonna do or his connections with Giannis. Like I said, I know Masai had a big connection with Giannis. Giannis is athletic, defensive minded, which does help the Raptors. But if you can give minimal players, and maybe do you want to give up your future, to try to keep the players you have now and just have Giannis, quickly, Barnes and Ingram. Like I said, it works. Kind of correlates with the video I posted previously on the Raptors. How having a defensive big man, a big man that's strictly defensive minded, does push them over that hump. Like I said, Giannis, he gives you that offensive presence as well. They'd definitely be a legitimate Eastern Conference contender. If Giannis is on the Raptors, I don't see any team beating them. I don't care what team you want to bring up, the Cavs, the Knicks, the Pistons. That it doesn't matter. Raptors, I don't think they're really losing with a Giannis, especially if we can keep some of our key guys. Yeah, I don't see that happening. But they will be sacrificing a lot of their young core. Like I said, I don't know if you want to sacrifice your young core just to get somebody like Giannis. Like matching his salaries, while we already have so much people we already pay, like our whole starting lineup, we're paying a ridiculous amount of money. So it's like, you got to weigh your pros and cons. And from the Bucks' perspective, it's like, are there any young picks on the Raptors that are like, oh yeah, I want to build around them other than Scotty Barnes? It's very risky. It's a risky move, but Toronto is known for those risky moves. They love going after these big or not even big market, these big name players whenever they're going through something with the organizations. Yeah, that's on the Raptors. Another team that I have, which is the third team, we have Miami Heat. Everybody knows Miami Heat culture. I feel like Giannis has been linked to Miami before. Miami and LA, I feel like, are always teams that have superstars linked to them. Miami has some, interesting team and an interesting package they could put together for Giannis. I see a lot of people want to get rid of Andrew Wiggins. I don't know. He's playing very solid. It's a good veteran player to have. He's an NBA champion, all-star. Yeah, I think Wiggins is a solid pick. You could throw Wiggins in. You could throw someone like Tyler Hero in the mix if you want to. You could throw in who else can you throw into the mix? The Hawkins Jr. But if you're Miami, do you want to pair Giannis and Bam together? Like that is the upside is there. It's very flexible defensively. They would work really well together. The whole Heat culture thing. Or would you package like Bam and Wiggins and some picks for Giannis? So would you rather pair Giannis with Hero or Giannis with Bam? Me personally, as much as the Hero thing sounds nice because Hero stretches the floor, he does pass the ball. I'd rather pair Bam and Giannis. I think that would just work a little bit better, and you can get a good supporting cast around them. Because defensively, they can lead guard 1 through 5. And there's always guys you can find around the league that can shoot. There's other guys you could probably throw in the package. But I do think a package of throwing Tyler Hero and some other guys, some young picks, or some picks and some younger guys for Giannis to work a little bit better. Miami, how would they fare? I think, like I said, any team that gets Giannis kind of fares fairly well. I think this is something Miami should be on board with, just to get a little bit better. They do have some upside. Like you have someone like Norman Powell who's taking an all-star leap this year. Some people believe he should have made the all-star game last year, which I'm one of them. I think he could have made the all-star game last year for sure, but in the West it's kind of tough. Norman Powell is playing amazing this year. So even keeping someone like Norman Powell, and then you have Bam, and then you get a Giannis, yeah, Miami can be very scary, very dangerous. Like that culture just in itself. Miami basketball will be back. I know a lot of people over there will be happy. Like I said, their supporting cast probably will need a rework because the amount of people that would have to, give up for Giannis. But it's a mid to high risk with these guys because Miami's always, I feel like they're always in a win now mode. The last time Miami rebuilt a while ago, so I feel like they're always in a win now mode, and I feel like them targeting Giannis just makes the most sense. But yeah, it really just depends on who they can get and surround Giannis and Bam with if they can keep Norman. Fourth team I do have, the Houston Rockets. Man, this is like, how do I feel about this? I don't know. Houston has a lot of young players. You got Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., Amen Thompson. Um, Shoot, they got so many young players. They're a very talented team. They got some picks. Then you got someone like Kevin Durant. What do you do with this? Like, do you try to pair Giannis and Kevin Durant? Do you get rid of Amen Thompson and you try to capture Durant's window and win now? Because Giannis and Kevin Durant, bro, what even is that? Like, you know what I mean? But I could see the Bucks trying to get Sengun. Maybe I don't. They're not getting Sengun and Amen. I can see them trying to just target Sengun, get some picks, and maybe throw in like a Jabari Smith Jr. Would the Houston Rockets want to do that? I don't think so. Do you try to wow or woo everybody? Try to trade Kevin Durant eventually? Well, I don't think you do that. But imagine that you trade Kevin Durant with some picks, get Giannis, because Giannis, like defensively, Houston would be even better, but offensively they'll take a hit. Because I feel like Durant's the only guy on that team that's a known shooter, especially because Fred VanVleet's out. Um, I feel like it would be very interesting though to see Giannis on the Houston Rockets. Houston does have a lot of intriguing players that they could put in a package for Giannis, and I feel like the Bucks would be intrigued about. Like I said, you do have Amen Thompson, you do have Jabari Smith, who's still very promising. You do have Sengun, an amazing big man, probably top big man, one of the top big men in the league right now. And he's only getting better. They're all fairly young, but just giving up too many picks on like the young assets. I don't know if the Houston Rockets want to do that. The only old guy or older guy they have on their team really right now is Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant's, like I said, is probably one of their only shooters that they have on their team that's very, very consistent and capable of, you know, going and getting that go-to basket. Like Giannis could be that guy, but not in terms of anything other than, if you need a bucket inside the paint, give it to Giannis. I can see it working, but I don't know if Houston is willing to go all in right now. It's a very, very high risk. But if they're willing to take that risk, it could very, very possibly work out. Houston gets Giannis with the supporting cast they have and the young talent they have. They're already up there with the top teams like OKC and Denver. I push them over that hump. They're right neck and neck with OKC just because the amount of things that they have on that team defensively can't get past those guys. The fifth team that I do have, I feel like it's a nice team, but I don't really think they need to do it because they're playing fairly well this year, and that's the Detroit Pistons. A lot of people, rebuilding franchise, so they thought this year. Cade Cunningham playing amazing, which he did last year as well. But you have someone like Jalen Duren who's taken all-star leaps. A lot of people are saying he is going to be an all-star this year. Who you got? Isaiah Stewart. You got guys like Tobias Harris. A lot of solid young guys as well. But it's like, who do you give up to try to get Giannis on Detroit? Do you give up someone like Jalen Duren who's taking that all-star leap because he isn't proven yet? Which is kind of difficult to think of because Jalen Duren is literally baby Dwight Howard. That's exactly what he reminds me of, little Dwight Howard. I was like, who do you give up like Isaiah Stewart and some vets, Tobias, some picks for Giannis? But I don't see the Bucks find that trade very intriguing. If the Bucks, they would ask for Cade. Cade's not going anywhere. I also see the Bucks asking for Jalen Duren. I can see them building around Jalen Duren, even though they just they just signed Miles Turner. Miles Turner they did give him a hell of a lot of money, but Miles Turner was never that piece that Milwaukee needed to get over that hump. I don't know what they were thinking. They just need a free agency there. They wanted to make Giannis happy. They're like, oh, let's get Miles Turner. He's a good player. He defends the ball. He can shoot the ball. Nah, it wasn't in Milwaukee. It wasn't it, honestly. So I can see them trying to go after someone like Jalen Duren. The Bucks like I said, the Bucks just want youth in return. If you're trading Giannis, you need youth. You need to start rebuilding. You need to get picks. You need to get young players. And Jalen Duren, perfect guy to build around. Like they have some young talent in Milwaukee. Like Ryan Rollins, he's a solid player. Like, will he be an all-star? You don't know, but he is a very solid player. And getting someone like Jalen Duren over there and just building around him, that's I feel like that's a very really good, very very good guy to build around Jalen Duren. So. It is the highest risk on this list because Detroit is playing so well. So do you want to really break up that scenario and that chemistry you got going right now just to get someone like Giannis? Like, yeah, Cade and Giannis would be very, very dangerous. That pick and roll, man. As much as Dame and Damian Giannis didn't work. I really honestly feel that didn't work because of coaching. Doc Rivers, say what you want to say about him, mixed feelings, but I don't feel like Doc Rivers was the right coach to have Damian Giannis. I do feel like Cade and Giannis is a whole different story. Obviously, Cade's younger, but I feel like it's a whole different story. Like I said, Detroit, it's a gamble. I don't think you break up what you have right there. You have a great young team. Detroit culture is coming back. Like I said, you have a star in Cade Cunningham. You have a star in Jalen Duren. But do you go all in to try to, you know, win and get Giannis right now, just to try to win for this year, maybe a few years coming? I don't think you should do it. But like I said, it's very intriguing. Um, Let me know who you guys have down below, who you think Giannis could end up on, what team you think he can end up on.